Okay, so there's this TV station called Comet, excuse me, and Comet is a sci-fi, network. So it gives shows like Outer Limits, Battlestar Galactica, Sliders, Quantum Leap, those kind of sci-fi shows. And it also will give movies, like Ripper, Street, Frankenstein. I believe at one point they gave Tales of the Dark Side. They give off like these sci-fi horror films, stuff like that. They even gave a couple of Godzilla films, like the oldie ones. So, um, so there was this movie that they gave at one point called uh, Gen Y Cops, which is a sequel to Gen X Cops. Well, so I'm watching this movie. When I first heard about it, I read it. I was like, okay, cool. The one thing that grabbed me the most was that it starred, it was Paul Rudd who starred alongside. I'm like, Paul Rudd? You mean the guy who played Ant-Man, who was in various movies such as Anchorman and American Hot Summer? That movie. Like, he's in it. So I was like, I gotta see this. Not only that, it was made in the year 2000. So they give the movie, I'm watching the film, and out of all the things that could just turn me off was the kind of things that other people can easily overlook. I can't. I've watched many, many movies in various languages, in various forms, whether it's dubbed, subtitled, or so forth. I was very disappointed in the way that this movie, it wasn't the movie itself, it was the way that the network presented the movie. So, how they presented the movie was that this movie was made in the languages of both Cantonese and American. So basically, the movie is about these cops, the Asian police officers have to work alongside American FBI agents because a robot that was said to be like the next generation of defense has gone rogue due to the fact that the person who made it just so happens to be a friend of one of the cops, swears up and down that they stole it, that they made it, and that the Americans took it and they want revenge. So they managed to get a hold of it back and is now wreaking havoc. So cool premises, cool story. Yeah, the effects are cheesy, but then again, this was made in the year 2000. This is when we started to evolve from uh, things that could be easily done by picture. Now we can do it by green screen. Now we can do 3D models. Now we can make a person look like they're in one area, but really they're not, trick of the eye kind of things. But what really got me was the fact that there was some parts of the movies that didn't need to be dubbed. Not at all. Like, it didn't need to be dubbed. Sorry. I have no idea what this is. Sorry. Telemarketer. But anywho, it didn't need to be dubbed. So when I first saw it, they're like talking, So when it goes to the parts where the Asian actors are speaking Cantonese, there's no subtitles. It's dubbed over. So it's dubbed over, and I'm like going, what the heck is this? Okay, all right, fine, it's dubbed over. Then there is one person who is obviously speaking English, but the audio of the dub and their mouths are not connecting. So I'm like wondering, what the heck is this? So then that same actress is speaking English, actual English, to the American actors, to the American characters, I should say. And lo and behold, They are speaking it. They're speaking it perfectly. And then the American actor says their line, and then another Asian actor says English perfectly. There was no reason to dub over them. Now, the Cantonese part, I understand. But then again, the whole movie was not Cantonese. It was Cantonese and English because you had the American actors. Not only that, the Asian actors were speaking English. There's a whole scene where, like, this one of the actors was speaking English to another Asian actor. There was no reason. And then if you go on YouTube and you watch it, you could tell right off the bat, wow, yes, they were speaking Cantonese with those who were speaking Cantonese. This was not that. This was not a movie where, like, for example, in Limitless, Bradley Cooper was speaking Russian. He was speaking French. He was speaking English. He was speaking Cantonese too. So it wasn't like one actor was speaking various languages for one movie. This wasn't like Call Me by Your Name. I know I'm gonna butcher his name. Timothy. His name's Timothy. I'm just gonna say Timothy. I don't know his last name. I'm afraid I'm gonna butcher it. But he's speaking Italian. He's speaking French, and he's speaking English. So this wasn't like Paul Rudd who was speaking both English and Cantonese. If it was back and forth like that, that's different. But then again, it wasn't. So as I'm continuing to watch this movie, I'm like, oh my God, this is so irresponsible. This is so unnecessary. I know I'm going to sound like a Karen, which I don't mean to be, but I mean, this is just like, to me, it felt like laziness. I mean, if you're going to spend that much time watching a movie to make sure blur whatever parts like Ginger Snaps, if you're going to show a movie like Ginger Snaps, which they did, and you're willing to blur out certain cuss words, which is understandable, and you're willing to blur out the huge pivotal scene of where they reveal the tail part, and yet you don't see the tail, they blurred it out because you do see her wearing her underwear, but you don't see anything else. They blurred out the scene of the tail. You couldn't see it. At first, I thought there was more bare butt showing rather than the tail, but it wasn't. I went and watched the real version of it, and I'm like, you didn't see anything. You saw that the reveal of the tail and it moved a bit, but that was it. Which I don't see why they would do that. Not only that, this was not like the movie Let the Right One In, where it's like a complete Swedish version, where you had a choice between, and I've seen it both dubbed and subtitles many times, where the TV station would choose to show dubbed or subtitled. The thing about this movie is that you had it subtitled and then you had the actual languages, like the actual American language. They didn't even do that. I mean, if they can show the Daggone Godzilla movies subtitled, I'm pretty sure they could do both subtitled and regular language. Or like regular non-dubbed, something like that. I don't know how to explain it. But that's what got me the most. It's like, seriously. To me, that's laziness. To me, it's like, okay, well, you guys can show movies that are on everything subtitles. If I can go online and watch the same film and there's no alteration, there's no nothing. This isn't like Infernal Affairs, which is a Chinese movie where, like Let the Right One In, depending on what version you're seeing, can go dubbed or subtitled. I personally like the dubbed version more. The subtitles, it's a lot of reading. I mean, it's mixed feelings because you like to hear the native language, but at the same time, you don't want to do a lot of reading. My parents don't like reading subtitles. They like to have it dubbed. I like reading subtitles because I like to hear the native language. That's just me. But like I said, unless you've watched both versions, then that's different. There is no both versions with this movie. The language is in both Cantonese and English. Like I said, these Asian actors were very, very capable of speaking in both languages. Like, for example, the main actor Edison Chen. He can speak English. Although he's Canadian he was raised in Hong Kong. His first language was English, which he later on learned Mandarin and Cantonese over time. And then he started to speak Japanese. He started to learn Japanese, which is how I got introduced to him in The Grudge 2, where he does speak Japanese and he is translating it. Check this out.
すいません。
はい。
彼女はカールン・デイビスの妹だそうです。
妹さん。
案内してあげてください。
わかりました。ありがとうございます。じゃあ私がお願いします。
She's here. Go take you to her.
Thank you. どうぞこちら。
Not only that, he's also speaking English. Impeccable English. Good English. Don't get me wrong, some of the Asian actors, yes, they do have that accent, but you're understanding them. They are speaking it. This isn't like they got brought in and there's a translator. No. These actors were very capable of speaking English. In the film, it shows their capability. All right? So there was no reason to dub it. The parts where they are speaking English, they're dubbing over it when clearly they're speaking it. There was no need for that. So I'm wondering, what version did those people get? So what version did these people get? Did they just find a version? Okay, we're going to put this in. All right, whatever, we'll look into it. Whatever customers are saying, we'll cut it out. Things like that. Okay, that's fine. You have a right to get rid of those certain cuss words because this is not a premium channel like Showtime or HBO or Stars or Cinemax. There's no need for that, which is understandable. But it just feels like, I feel okay. I'm not trying to bag on the TV station. I just feel like they made a poor choice with executing how they were going to show that film. I feel it was both laziness, irresponsible, and unnecessary, because if I was to go on YouTube and I actually see that, the real version, and I'm watching the whole movie from beginning to end, and it's doing it flawlessly, it's doing it with a nice flow, then you gotta wonder, okay, was that version the only version that was available to them? Because if that was the case, then that's understandable. Because they can only go off by what they're given, what they have on hand. But if that wasn't on hand and they're like, okay, we gotta figure out a movie, okay, let's try this movie, okay, cool, let's do that, then that's wrong. Because I know a lot of people didn't seem to mind it. I did. I'm pretty sure there's other people who think the same way I did. To me, that just seems like laziness. Like they just put it in, bam, we'll put it like that. That's not right. Okay, I'll give you props, but it's just like, it's not like though, it just looks like it's a really bad, horrible dubbed movie. Like those old Kung Fu movies that are really badly dubbed. That's what it looked like. That's the vibe I was getting. I was like, y'all took away from how this movie was supposed to be told and turned it into something that it didn't need to be. It didn't seem like it was the correct thing to do. At least for me. Obviously these actors, the Asian actors are speaking English lines to the American actors, and they're talking back and forth. Obviously some of these Asian actors are speaking English to their other co-Asian actor castmates, or their Asian castmates, excuse me. So obviously they're speaking English. You watch the movie on another platform, they're speaking English. There's no reason to dub over the parts where they're speaking English in. The Cantonese parts, I do understand. You know, I understand those parts, but when they're actually speaking English, that's just like me. Because the part and what really got me the most is that if you're gonna English dub a movie and the actors happen to know English, let them do the dub over, because that's gonna save a lot of time and it's not gonna be like a really bad difference, because the parts where they were speaking dubbed sounded nothing like the actor's voice when they were really speaking English. That's the part that even got me way more, because to me that just seemed very, very, that was lazy. I'm sorry, that was lazy. They could have kept those scenes in Cantonese, put the subtitles in, and then the part where they're actually speaking English, left it alone. They could have left it alone. Alright? Or like, let's say there's one character that doesn't speak a lick of word of English, but the other ones do, and they can translate. That's totally different too. It was like in Captain America, First Avenger, there was a gentleman who didn't know a word of English. He spoke French, but the other guy, his partner, spoke both English and French, and he would translate for him back and forth. Like there was one scene where um, Captain America had proved himself. He got the refugees out. He got the prisoners out. And uh, they said, okay, we need you, things like that. And he goes, okay, fine, but I want to pick my own team. And he picks the people that he rescued. You know, he picks his best friend. He picks the other people who are from various areas of the world. He didn't care. He goes, we're all fighting for the same cause. Let's do this. And it just happened to be those two guys who I guess were captured together, knew how to speak each other's language. Like, okay, we'll go. Like, oh no, we're in too. Let's go. That's different. That's a prime example of one character, like codependency. In the movie, there was nothing like that. There was no codependency, so there was no reason to dub over what needed to be dubbed. There was no reason to do that. I mean, check this scene out. Check this scene out and let me know what you guys think.
I thought you American experts at controlling the robot. What's there to worry about? Did anyone ask for your input?
You see what I mean? Obviously, there was, I don't know how to explain it. Obviously, there was capability there. Obviously, if it's in the original cut, there's a reason for it to be in the original cut. That's just me. I mean, don't get me wrong. That TV station does a lot of good shows. A lot of these shows I grew up with. I grew up with Outer Limits. I grew up with Millennium. I grew up with X-Files. I grew up with Battlestar Galactica, Andromeda. I grew up with Quantum Leap and Sliders. You know, I grew up with those shows. My mom would have a hard time believing that I grew up with those shows, but I did. I tend to watch more of the oldie Star Trek ones with William Shatner more than I do with Patrick Stewart, who is a brilliant actor. It's just, I guess when there's way too many spin-offs and continuations, you get tired of it. That's just me. But yeah, that program gives a lot of good shows. I saw Frankenstein, which it was like a completely different Frankenstein one, like more modern day. Um, I know I'm gonna butcher their names. I can't say their names because I know I'm gonna butcher them. I know one gentleman is named Thomas, who's German, who actually speaks Italian too. That's pretty cool too. Anywho, uh, and the other guy's named Vincent, which the only movie I can put him in. There's actually two movies I can put him in: Crow, City of Angels, and Queen of the Damned. Uh, Marius. He was the one that turned. What was it? Laurent? Lestat. Yeah, he was the one that turned Lestat into a vampire, and then Lestat ended up going with his own. He had enough. But yeah, there are those movies. Um, yeah, to me, I think the way that the network executed Gen Y cops, I mean, was bad. To me, it was bad. The way they executed was bad. I'm not bashing the movie itself. I'm not bashing the actors. I'm not bashing the way that the movie was executed because, like I said, that was made in the year 2000. Majority of these actors were most likely starting out or were in the game for a bit, and they were just trying to find that movie that makes a big hit. Not only that, when you go to different countries, each country has its own um plan, or there's a certain way that they've executed that industry. Yes, it's the same industry, the same film industry, but it's executed in various ways. And you can tell right off the bat, like in, I believe everyone goes to Vancouver or they go to Australia, sometimes in other European or Asian continents or Asian countries, sorry. Asia is a continent, duh. But, there's like the currency of like how much would it cost to do this, how much would it cost to do that, can we easily execute it here, can we easily execute it there, can we do this stunt here, so that's why a lot of people will rather go overseas to film a movie rather than in actual, like, rather than in America or some places. In other places it's vice versa, so it all depends. It's not like National Treasure. There was a reason why they went to London, they went to France in the second film. There's a reason. Whereas, okay, we're gonna film it here and we're gonna say it's Seattle. Or we're gonna say it's Boston. or we're gonna say it's Forks. I don't know. I know enough of how they do certain things, certain filming locations. I know enough how and why they execute the way they do. I know why they film there because it's not going to cost as much of a fortune, but at the same time, you wouldn't know because the way they filmed everything, the way the episode is executed, and it's awesome. Um, like I said, I have no problems with the way the movie was executed. I just have a problem with the way the network executed the movie, with the way they showed the movie. And I just feel like it was laziness and unnecessary. That's what I think. But that's just me. I don't know. So no, I'm not gonna boycott the. I already know how people are. How some knuckleheads, they're gonna watch like, oh, so you're gonna boycott the TV station? What are you thinking? I'm not boycotting it. I just have a problem with the way they showed that movie. That's it. Am I still gonna watch the channel? Yes, I'm still gonna watch the channel. I mean, I feel like certain movies, yeah, if you're gonna blur out or cut out so many of those scenes, then you shouldn't really be showing that movie then. Because when you cut out a scene or when you blur out a certain thing, it it really doesn't look right. Like there was a Godzilla movie that they gave him subtitles, and it was, I don't know what the title was, but it was when Godzilla had to go after the smog monster. And there was this guy who had gotten injured by the smog monster. And the reporters were interviewing the guy who had gotten exposed to it. So apparently, so his face was partially burned, almost like Two-Face, but not too much. But when I'm watching it, they had this big blur on his face. You couldn't see it. So I'm like, what are they blurring out? How bad is it? How graphic is it? Because, like, if you were to watch The Dark Knight, when they reveal Two-Face's face, when they really reveal all the bone and the skin and everything, that was graphic. that was awesome and cool, but it was graphic because you see the details of the muscle, the bone. That was awesome. That right there was graphic. If they showed that, which I doubt, I would be, if they give that movie and I watch it and they're not blurring out that particular part, then I would be pissed because that just goes to show that's another form of laziness. But they blurred out that part, and I looked up a picture and I'm like, that was nothing. That just looked like they just plastered some like black paint on the dude and they just put paper mache on it and they made like crevices and things like that. That was nothing. And then back to Ginger Snaps, like I said, they blurred out the tail scene. They also blurred out when the sister, the youngest sister, I don't know, I think her name was Bridget. Yeah, her name was Bridget. And she caught the guy about to hurt a little boy who was trick or treating because it was Halloween night. That boy that Ginger had infected. I won't say how she did it, but she infected him and he started turning. And she had what was the cure. She had the wolfbane. She had it in the needle. She had it in the syringe. He goes out to attack her and she plunges it into the neck. They blurred out the needle. So they blurred out the syringe. So the syringe is hanging out of his neck and he's going, what's going on? What? And they blurred it. And all you see is this big blur. I'm laughing because it's like, seriously, if you're going to blur those two pivotal scenes out, then you shouldn't be showing the movie at all. The cursing, I understand. You bleep up the cursing or like you silence it. That's understandable. But when you blur out those certain things, it makes it way worse than it already is. Oh my god. Oh lordy. Yeah, but that's just me. That to me was just ridiculous. I mean, if you're gonna watch the whole movie and blur out whatever needs to be blurred out or cut out to be blurred out, one word of advice: don't show the movie then, because then you're really cutting out some pivotal scenes that the audience, the person who's watching this, needs to understand. And then two, I mean, if there's a movie that is speaking in both English and Cantonese or Italian or German or whatever, then don't dub it. Like for a good example, there was a movie called Midway, which is a World War II movie. I think around a year, maybe 2 years ago, it was released. It was in Japanese, I believe German, and I know it was in English. So the parts where the Japanese were conversating, it was in subtitles. The part where the Germans were conversating, it was in subtitles. The part where the Americans were conversating, it was in English. So they could have easily done that. They could have let it been like that. Yeah, simple as that. I think perhaps they just didn't want to put subtitles in. I don't know. I would not be surprised if there was already subtitles in. Got the DVD, rip the DVD. There you go. Problem solved. I mean, that's just me. Now, I've never worked at a TV station before. I don't know how the environment is. I'm pretty sure sometimes it's stressful. I'm pretty sure sometimes it's steady. I don't know. So I can't really bag on them because I don't know what was going on when they aired it. Perhaps that it was already done and they just show it whenever they want to show it. I don't know. But either way, I feel like that wasn't exactly the way to do it. And that's just me. But to each their own. I did end up watching it on YouTube. I'm sure you can find it on YouTube just fine. Watched it. It was alright. But then again, it was made in the year 2000, so you can't really expect much. but then again, you can't really hate it. You know, that's just me. But it is what it is. You can't really do much, but it is what it is.